The SJWs and the woke cultists are not happy with Gary Beekler, the host of the Nerdrotic YouTube channel. One went after him, saying that he sells, quote, outrage and anger. But almost immediately after accusing Gary of doing this, he actually admits he's the one who is full of hate. You really cannot make this stuff up. Follows the 3 laws of the SJW to a T and did it within less than an hour. Might not even been that. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com, and this X user named Minute Nerd News went after Gary Beekler, aka Nerdrotic. He posted this: Nerdrotic is a piece of crap that we've allowed to operate amongst us for far too long. So already this is off to a bad start. This guy thinks that he can dictate what people say, dictate the fact that he's able to have a YouTube channel we've allowed to operate amongst us for far too long. Clearly has a mini tyrant syndrome within him. But he continued there. He says, before I focus my attention solely on this garbage, let us first focus our attention on the explanation of what it is he and his little grifter friends do. This is the new buzzword that these people are using, grifter. They don't even know what the word means. It actually used to have meaning, but because they just throw it around against anyone who has an opposing opinion to them, it means absolutely nothing. It used to mean someone who basically was selling out and lying in order to just make a bunch of money. Didn't actually believe what they were saying. I do not think that is the case with Gary. I think he actually believes what he says. I think he is opposed to woke ideology infecting movies and TV shows. So this is the clip, though, that he uses, features Jeremy Griggs. You'll notice that both Gary and Ryan Kinnell do indeed disagree with Jeremy's assertion here. Let's take a listen, though.
Welcome to every video we make. We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out of it. Don't act like that's not what we do.
I don't build a narrative.
You're
I
an
give my
absolute
opinion.
fucking.
You are hot.
We do. You've made the same fucking video on the same topic at least 7 times a week, Ryan. And you're gonna act like we don't do that.
I talk about I talk about
says one fucking thing and we make a whole video out of it. That's what we do.
So I actually do disagree with Jeremy on that as well. Brie Larson says one thing and you make a video about it. There's nothing wrong with that, but then she says something else the next day and you make a video about that too. That is not taking something out of context and blowing it up and creating a narrative. It's literally reacting to an interview that Brie Larson is giving. It's reacting to what Brie Larson is saying. Those two are two very different things. Nevertheless, this guy goes on and says, that's right, folks. They sell you outrage and anger. This is what they do. They make mountains out of molehills to capitalize on an insignificant frustration their target demographic might be feeling and heighten the issue rather than tame it. That is absolutely not true. As far as I'm concerned, what I do here is I point out how evil this stuff is, how evil woke ideology is, how it has infected all of Western media, whether it is movies, whether it is TV shows, whether it is video games. And I explain why this stuff is wrong and how we need to oppose it, because we do need to oppose this stuff. And it is indeed wrong. That's not selling outrage. That's not selling anger. That is selling the truth. Nevertheless, he goes on and says, no, this won't be news to you. I realize that Nerdrotic has an obsession with the concept that anyone who isn't straight, white, or male might make an appearance or lead a solo project. So then he just shares like a screenshot of all of his thumbnails, which I don't really know what point he's trying to make there. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. One is literally him dressed up as Captain Marvel and like says podcasts. Like, what point is that supposed to be making there? But he did share these clips of Gary, so let's listen to these here to say how Gary is obsessed. Well, let's take a listen here.
Plan was revealed by Disney announcing the most MCU of MCU decisions.
we've got to pander harder.
From the people who brought you female Taskmaster, female Loki, female Thor, and up until this point, the worst of them all, female Captain Marvel. No, not that bad female Captain Marvel. This bad female Captain Marvel.
Change the character just a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, Disney Marvel presents the latest character and casting announcement from the Fantastic Four film that will blast misogyny in the face with the power cosmic. Female Silver Surfer. From Deadline, the Fantastic Four Julia Garner joins Marvel Studios movie as a Shala.
So he's literally just pointing out that Marvel Studios clearly has an agenda with gender swapping, sex swapping their male characters, which they do. They literally talked about this. Victoria Alonso, their former VP, is on record claiming that they will lose money if they don't represent people. That is what they believe. I mean, look at Lucasfilm. They're all about this. The Force is female stuff, and they've cratered their entire brand. Marvel was doing the same thing in Phase 4, and Gary is pointing out what they are doing.
Of Silver Surfer, the dinosaur.
So here's another clip that he shared.
That's right. Despite having some reservations, Marvel went ahead with their big gamble. Not sure if you heard, but they released Echo, the ill-fated series that Kevin Feige himself said after its initial shoot was unreleasable, leading to multiple reshoots and a massive delay. And still, there were rumors that Disney Marvel was considering not releasing it at all. But after Kevin Feige realized he war-painted himself into an identity politics corner, he smoked the peace pipe, trimmed it from 8 episodes to 5 episodes, and dropped it all at once in the beginning of January on 2 streaming services. And it totally wasn't an attempt to boost what will be abysmal streaming numbers. And because it wouldn't be a Disney Marvel product without having to do some homework, Echo is a spin-off from an MCU bait and switch series, Hawkeye, that nobody watched, that will turn into an MCU solo series.
So again, he's pointing out the MCU pattern that they released in Phase 4, pointing out Hawkeye, which again is a gender swap from the male Hawkeye Clint Barton down to, I don't even remember what her name is, Kate something. And then obviously Echo, which is clearly a kind of a knockoff character from Daredevil, or a supporting character for Daredevil, and who's like F tier on the Marvel character list that they decided to make an entire show about. Just utterly obvious pandering to the feminist agenda that Marvel was indeed pushing, and for all intents and purposes, still looks like they are pushing until I see evidence otherwise. That is what they are doing. So I don't know what this guy's talking about by saying Gary has an obsession. He's literally just pointing out what Marvel Studios is doing, and this guy's really mad about it. Let's continue here. He goes on and says, but of course he has praise for the MCU, but only when it involves movies where the main protagonist is white, male, and straight. Marvel has only experienced one failure in its entire history as lackluster as some of the box office was in Phase 4, with 2 movies crossing 1 billion. Let's listen to the clip here that he shared.
Greetings, you over 1 million hellions and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet after Deadpool and Wolverine's Monster Weekend, which puts it on a trajectory to be the first movie produced by Disney Marvel to hit $1 billion since Endgame. This predictably has everyone asking, is the MCU back? Let's, for now, answer that question with another question. Did Captain Marvel kill the MCU? No. It was just the writing on the wall. It was everything that followed.
Oh, God.
WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, the Eternals, Hawkeye, were all a collective of diverse and inclusive failures. This losing streak was only broken up with Sony and Disney Marvel's release of Spider-Man No Way Home on December 17th of 2021.
It's been a very tough time for cinemas during the pandemic, with some change.
So he's literally just pointing out that the Phase 4 has been a significant failure for Marvel Studios, and it has. Carolyn Reed over at Forbes noted that both Eternals and Black Widow lost money for Marvel Studios. In October 2023, she noted that Eternals lost $52.56 million and Black Widow lost $49.84 million. In April 2024, she reported that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania also lost $38 million. In July, just last month, she noted that the Marvels lost almost $120 million. She also updated the figures for Eternals, noting that film lost at $61.1 million and Quantumania lost $39.3 million. Between the Marvels, Quantumania, and Eternals, Marvel lost $219 million. If you actually look at the profits that they made off Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it literally killed the profits of that movie because she reports that that film only brought in $127.3 million in profit. That's nowhere near $219 million in losses. Phase 4 was an utter disaster, and pointing out that all of this stuff led up to this is not, it's just normal. It's pattern recognition. Gary's pointing it out. He sees what's happening and is talking about it. This guy's claiming he's peddling outrage and being angry when he's just noting what's happening at Marvel Studios and the box office numbers. It's utterly ridiculous. But he didn't stop there. He goes on to, after calling him a grifter, now he's calling him racist, right? Of course, that's what these people always do. Lie, double down, and project. We're going to get to this, but here obviously is the double down. He's just generally a racist, so much so that at this point, he should honestly just come out and admit that he's a white supremacist. Never mind his racially charged comments about Echo. Check this comment out that he jokes won't make it in. It's literally about a guy going to buy a pack of cigarettes. If you want to watch this one, I'll have the link in the description below. He then patronized Gary and says, "You're just a little boy with a camera and a microphone. Take that away. And what are you? Racist, homo, transphobic, misogynist." He then tried to connect Gary to January 6th. He says he's such a problematic person that his whereabouts on January 6th could be brought into question, and I bet you wouldn't blink your eye. This Elon Musk person interacts with people currently advocating for civil war if the election is once again stolen. And I don't really know what he's even talking about here. I guess he's just talking about the people that he's responding to on X. It's just utterly ridiculous. This guy is completely unhinged. He's trying to destroy Gary with all of this slander, all of these lies. But this is what you expect from these people. Because here he is again. The guy is stuck in a never-ending circle jerk, literally built on the back of crapping on suppressed voices and oppressed minorities. No, Marvel Studios is not suppressed and is not oppressed. What are you even talking about? I mean, this guy is completely out to pasture. He needs a lot of help. We got to pray for this guy because he's struggling. This guy's clearly struggling. He probably has some kind of significant wounds. And I kind of just got caught up into this here. Like, I'm obviously pointing out all the things that he's doing wrong, but we gotta make sure that we pray for these people. These people like this guy really need help. They clearly have some kind of gaping wound in their life. They're clearly wounded people, and then they lash out in these just absurd rants because they themselves are wounded. But he goes on and says, if it's not a straight white man, he don't want it. In fact, he'll dedicate his time to crapping on it for 2 weeks. And then This is the hilarious part. Like I said, what do SJWs always do? The 3 laws, as noted by Vox Day in his book, SJWs Always Lie, Taking Down the Thought Police. They lie, they double down, and they project. And we saw this. The guy lies. He's lying about Gary. He doubled down with the racism stuff. He doubles down here with the suppressed voices and oppressed minorities. And he's clearly projecting because right here, what does he say? This guy says, seems like you're a huge fan of his. You made this whole thread about him. Isn't that what fans do? And he responds, I hate him. I hate him so much that I'm willing to spend my time speaking about it because it matters, unlike spending time photoshopping Brie Larson over 100 times. Remember, he accused Gary of, quote-unquote, peddling outrage and anger, and he's the one who's actually admitting that he is the one who's full of hate. He's the one who is hateful. Like I said, this guy is significantly wounded, and he's projecting all of this stuff that he actually feels on to Gary. And if he's already doing it about the peddling of the outrage and anger, one has to wonder about all the other accusations he's making against Gary and if they are actually things that he believes. In fact, YouTuber Price of Reason did some digging on this guy, and Minute Nerd News approved of the burning of American flags and appeared to approve of a potential attack on President Donald Trump. So here you go. You can see him posting this. Burning flags, chaos, pandemonium, insurrection, violence, unconstitutional, violently breaking into a government building during a hearing, threatening to murder people inside, patriots. So there you go. The guy's clearly projecting with the January 6th stuff. And then here's another post right here where he reposted this other person who says an obituary pic would have been harder. Clearly hoping that President Donald Trump would die, wishing death on someone or wishing that someone would die. Clearly, this guy is projecting all of his own inclinations, all of his own beliefs, all of his own ideas on to Gary. I think that's very, very clear here. Gary's having fun with this. You got to respect Gary for this. He says, good morning. My channel is under attack, and then shared a picture of the other Jeremy from the Quartering, not Jeremy Griggs from Geeks and Gamers, but Jeremy Hambley from the Quartering, who has now basically become a meme by saying his channel has been under attack. So Gary posted that as well. And then when Drama Alert picked up on that, he responded this saying, oh no, with a big laugh reaction there. So kudos to Gary for taking this in stride, laughing at this, and pointing out how just kind of utterly ridiculous it is and really kind of just brushing it off. Good for him. I think we do still need, I think there's people like me still need to address this kind of stuff, break it down, but we also need to pray for these people. We need to kind of maybe not really go after them or try and insult them or attack them, but maybe just kind of be like, somehow reach out to these guys. It's hard to do, obviously, through the internet, and I don't know if that's really our place. It's something that I kind of struggle with a little bit on my own sphere. It's like, well, maybe it's just plant the seed and move on. But I think in this case, you have to be able to like know this person, know them in person, and that's where you can really kind of touch them. But I do think that we need to behave better. Obviously, the guy says some nasty, disgusting, evil things, and your initial reaction is to kind of punch back, right? You want to punch back, you want to do that counter punch. But instead, I think what we need to do is we need to pray for these people. Hopefully that they get better and maybe offer them some way to heal their wounds. And I don't know the perfect way to do that, but if there is a way, please let me know in the comments below. But that's kind of what I have to say on this. I do find what this guy says is evil and repugnant, but I think this is an opportunity for us to kind of take this, see this, and maybe try and do something good for this guy, because he's clearly suffering, clearly hurting, and he needs help. And I think the best way we can help him, given that fact I don't know him, is to pray for him. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.